And this is just a part two. But I think I left off Revelation 13. I hit verse. I hit verse 4, verse 5, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months, which refers to which is 350 years, and that goes from 1619 to 1969. And that's the time frame that Esau had, a full, I want to say, full control over the earth. Because when the truth started to come out, then his power started to decline. You know, but um, but that was the time he was pretty much doing whatever the hell he wanted. And he opened his mouth and blasphemy against Yahweh, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell therein. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And once again, Esau, so-called white man, for a certain period of time. I'm going. Where is it? There's a verse that says how he make fire to come down from heaven. I didn't already read that, did I? No. But what, that fire going into those missiles on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Because Esau, so-called white man, was the first nation on earth to do some shit like that. And he had everybody in fear. You know? Everybody. Verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose name is not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. And what you have, I forgot where it says, but you have a scripture talk about how Lord is going to separate the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left. Those that are chosen by him, and are going to be, are going to receive salvation, and those that worship the beast, so-called white man system that bow down to him, are going to be destroyed. Those are those goats on the left hand. If any man hath an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth in the captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience faith of the saints that gets all that. Yeah, and that's very self-explanatory. Once again, what's that scripture? Jeremiah 30:16. All that took us in captivity are going to go into captivity. All the taking our people for a spoil are going to be a spoil. And at the head of that, who's going to be going headlong, head first into slavery, is a so-called white man. Because when you think of slavery, you think of him. Why? Because the way in which he did it. Slavery has always been a thing. Our nation has a law on, Hebrew servants. But there's a way in which you're supposed to conduct slavery, just like how warfare, right? There's rules of warfare, rules of combat. There's certain things that's honorable to do, certain things that's dishonorable to do. There's certain things people have a spoken or maybe even a non-spoken agreement on not doing. Rules of engagement, I think, such as like even when you get into a fight, right? Like fucking nut shots, right? That's something that's universal. I don't even want to say universal, but at least among in America, that's something that's like, that would be considered a cowardly act to kick somebody in the nuts when you fight. The so-called white man didn't give a fuck about any of that. So once again, he did warfare and slavery. He was the dirtiest nigga when it came to doing that stuff. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. The lamb is known as it's a docile creature, and that's talking about this two party system. Now, like obviously you have more minor parties, but it's like the two major parties, Democrats and Republicans, and you actually had that during this whole Kamala thing where it says they can't said the beast comes up out of the earth and had two horns like a lamb. It they seem like they both sides seem like they want to help you, and he spake as a dragon. But when you actually go into the policies and the way in which it's going to affect people, what Isaiah 10:1, I just get it. I forgot how it says it, like what grievous, unrighteous decrees. Yes, Isaiah 10:1, woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. And that's something that both parties, do. They'll seem like they want to help you, but when you actually get into the nitty and gritty, they want to fuck you over. Obama's an example of that too. Well, the whole, Democrat, the whole parties, the whole fucking system is like that. But there's just a couple of key people that really, that really embody that. How they want to help you, but when they actually got in office, they didn't, they either didn't do shit or made shit worse. Let's see here. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. Once again, going into the Roman Empire. Like America patterns itself after Rome. The whole two-party system, plebeians and patricians. The way in which they do warfare. It's architecture. The terminology. Latin. There's like I know with lawyers there are different types of Latin terms and different contracts that you have to get like a lawyer because they're specialized in that. Why not Hebrew terms? They get a lot of their it's and people even in the world will recognize the parallels between America and Rome, because once again America is just Rome reborn. When you go into the Renaissance, it was a rebirth of Roman culture. Let's see here, where was I? Exile power of the first beast before him and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. Which once again going back to the Renaissance. And he doeth great wonders so that he make the fire to come down from heaven on earth in the sight of men. And once again that's talking about and great, he doeth great wonders. So like what people were in amazement at those missiles that fried those niggas shadows into that wall even to this very day. If I'm not mistaken, those niggas, the Ammonites, are still suffering from like lingering like radiation type effects. Because shit was fucking. That's the shit was seared into their what is the correct term? Geome. What I think it's called genome. Into their genetic makeup. That's how, man, they dog. Jeez Louise, boy. Them niggas come out for fucking radiation plaster across their DNA helix. But once again, that's what that nigga did. And what they if I remember correctly, those niggas they wove the white flag. They waved that white flag, and Esau still bombed them niggas out. And not there when somebody gives up, it's like a universal thing. Say okay, he gave up. Prisoners of war and whatnot. But this nigga Esau said no, fuck that. He wove the white flag. That just means he out of breath. He can't fight anymore. Bomb them niggas anyway. There's different things that are universally agreed upon when it comes to warfare and combat. But this nigga he didn't give a fuck about any of that. Another thing in our captivities, we always remember America is the only captivity where people completely 100% forgot who we were. In all of our other captivities, you had those of our people that may have forgotten who we were, but then you had those of our people that knew. But America is the only one in which we had our heritage completely beaten out of us. You know, you may have had us, heathen kings and leaders have us, bow down, have us try to bow down to their gods. But for the most part, well, you had that with East, you had that under the Greek captivity as well. When I know when Antiochus um wanted to, he wanted to in particular have our people consume pork and sacrifice pork at the altar and worship heathen gods. He wanted specifically to try to uh, have our people commit idolatry. But as far as like completely wiping who we were from our minds in history, America is the only place in which that happened. And who's at the helm of that? The so-called white man. So it says what? He that leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patient faith of the saints. And the so-called white man's blessing was the sword, and he used it. That's how he got everything. What's that nigga Cristobal Colon, when he came over here, he was doing so much murdering that he said that he couldn't put down his sword for a moment. He lived by his fucking sword. And Christopher Columbus is celebrated. A murderer is celebrated for so-called discovering America, which is bullshit. You have these Edomites that say civilization started with the Greeks. Edomite civilization started with the Greeks, but it's documented that there were societies that came before Greek life. Edomite conquest, domination in the earth started with the Greeks, and America was already discovered by Jake, who were sent over here after the 10 tribes, Northern Kingdom, were sent over here after the Assyrian captivity. And it mentions that in the book of Esdras. I think it's first Esdras, if I'm not mistaken, first or second Esdras. But it mentions that in the Apocrypha. And King Solomon came over here too. It mentions that he came over here to get things like gold of Ophir, which is the highest quality of gold, and ivory, which is elephant tusks. But let's see. Verse 14, he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, by means of those miracles. And what's considered a miracle now? What the and this, y'all already know what this is going into, the microchip, right? In this technology. And what somebody who's blind having a chip popped in the back of their head, and now they can see. That's looked at as a miracle. People will call that a miracle. Which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. And it keeps saying the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. And what's that? That's the Roman Empire. Why? Because it was destroyed. I think it was the western part of the Roman Empire was it fell, and Jake took over the eastern part. And Roman culture was revived, during the Renaissance. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Which isn't talking about a physical image. It's talking about the lifestyle, because and even when you go into that, it's not talking about like fucking Jesus. But when you go into lifestyle, that's something that you can see that represents something. You see the way in which Japanese niggas, in which they live. You see nigga walking around in the kimono, which is their that robe-like garment. Hair in a certain way, eating certain food. Fucking katana in a sash and whatnot. Sandals, oh, they're those noodle sucking fucks. You see Africans walking around in their fucking loincloth with all types of shit in their damn head. Oh, they you see the way in which they pattern their chasing after animals and shit, the way they conduct themselves. Oh, they're from over there. Let's go into the lifestyle. You like what you worship, so-called white man, by subscribing to what he considers culture, to his lifestyle. Just like how is it that you associate yourself with a god? You follow their ways. Our people committed idolatry by following the ways of heathen idols. Our people were connected to Yahweh Shemal Shai through the culture, through following his laws, calling upon his name, doing the things that he said, which is more than laws. It's actual culture. It's a lifestyle. And you go into that movie, the book of Clarence, right? Like that was I want to say something of a snapshot of how the lifestyle that our people had back then. Obviously, it was it was fucking niggerized and bastardized, but it was like it gave you at least some type of visuals on the screen. But verse 16, and he calls both small and great, rich and poor, free, and it says what? And there's many, and cause many that will not worship that means the beast should be killed. And even here in America, right? If you don't subscribe to American lifestyle, you don't get a bank account. You need a bank account. You need a cell phone. You need a vehicle. Because a lot of people, their job isn't right around the fucking corner from where they live. Right? But there are things that you need to partake in, to not even thrive, to survive in this place. If you don't have a bank account, you're not gonna do well, because most of y'all, and like what, like you got a lot of places that take digital payments. There's actually a couple of vending machines at my job that only they had some that took cash. They had some that only took you tap your that took digital payments. And cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads. And you look up that word mark. You go into a blue letter. You look up the word mark on etymology online. Even on etymology, it goes back into a stake, a pale, a palisade. In other words, it goes back into something that's stabbed into the ground, something sharp that's stabbed into the ground. And we know that the prophets used the terminology that they had in the day to describe the visions of the future that they saw. For example, you go a couple of years ago, what would the UFO? Not even a couple decades ago, maybe a century ago, generation, maybe not a century, maybe a fucking century ago. But I remember that UFOs used to be called what? Flying saucers. Let me look that up really quick. They call it, you know what the actual, it says flying saucer. And it says, or flying saucers. But it says, what's another name for UFO? They call it UAP. Right? So once again, at the time, they called the UFOs or the chariots, they used the terminology that they had. And over time, that terminology evolved to UFO, and now it evolved into UAP. But they used the terminology that they had. Same thing with the prophets, Like the missiles, they refer to them as snakes with tails. Because of their appearance. How the smoke from the exhaust, it kind of resembles like a snake. Or flying fiery serpents. But yeah, but going to that mark goes into a palisade or a stake, and those all have something to do with something sharp being stabbed into the ground. And what's that one thing that stabs into something, that gives you something, that allows you to buy, whether you're small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, and that something is going to be required for you to participate in society, as it says here in verse 17. and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So it's that thing that is going to be required for you to participate in this society, in which is going to be stabbed into something. What is it? It's a microchip. Why? Because what they want, payments. They want the money to go digital. If the money is digital, then you can't use cash. What is it that you can use? Is that what's the correct word term to use? Is that medium of exchange for is that medium for buying and selling? I know there's another word that's a better word for it, but is that medium for buying and selling when everything is digital, with when cash is no longer a thing. It's the microchip, and everything is moving towards what was it, the fourth industrial revolution, with the merging of man and machine. Here's wisdom. Let him hath understanding. Count the number of the beast, for is the number of man. His number is 603.6. But that, like I said, that was part two. But I hope it was edifying. So y'all praise this glory and knowledge. Yahweh Bashem Ashah Bashem Dakadash. The Rasa Elders, possible teacher at Millstone, Parliament Truth. Shalom to hopefully Israel destruction, battle on Great America.